Hey guys, and welcome back to The Way UK. And if you're new around here and you're like, what is this The Way thing? And you ask your friend and all of them have a different answer. We're essentially a digital youth ministry with the goal that every young person would hear the message of Jesus online.
And we are based out of our lovely studio here in London, where we create all sorts of faith-based content, like here, like in our podcast setup.
Yeah, we have a podcast where we have Bible studies and host people giving their testimonies and sharing their stories. We also do these reflection style videos, which are like, I guess, small conversations about some of the difficulties of being a young Christian. And just to add another one in there, we also do on the street videos where we speak to people about Christianity and life, and I guess just opening up conversations to discuss some of the misconceptions about faith. And for us, we just want to see young people grow as followers of Jesus.
I mean, there's so many stories that we hear about how God's kind of moved through what we do. And what's amazing is there's so many stories of impact from it. And even this week, someone texted me on Instagram. And they said, hey, I'm not sure if you remember me, but 2 years ago you interviewed me. And I didn't know Jesus at all. I wasn't a Christian, but I took it as a sign that God wanted me to start coming to church. And they texted me this week saying, I'm now a Christian and I love Jesus.
Just following now, we'll be exploring the theme of generosity. We'll be taking part in the 40 Acts Challenge, where each day we'll be attempting a different generosity themed challenge. And as a part of that, we'll be releasing different series of podcasts and vlogs where we talk about sacrificial gifts, kindness, hospitality, sharing faith, and serving. And as Christians, we want to walk in the example that Jesus has set before us. And that looks like loving those around us. As for us at The Way, we've all been personally impacted by the generosity of others.
Hi, my name is Zenya and I'm an 8 out of 10 in generosity. Sometimes I get into modes where I'm overly generous to the point where I'm giving a lot, but then it's burning me out at the same time. So right now I'm trying to work on having a more healthy relationship with generosity, and it's actually been really helpful. I remember when I was 16 and one of my friends invited me to church and I said no because I was just busy. I know everyone says they're busy, but I was busy. Like, I was working on having a strong university application, so I was doing internships, I was doing the most, and I don't think I was really in the headspace to think about God. But over the course of year 12, I actually grew more interested. And I think partly because my friend, she didn't invite me once, but she invited me again. And so the idea of going to church just felt less daunting. And so when she invited me for the third time, I had no excuse. It was summer, I wasn't in school. I had more time on my hands, so I actually said yes and I went. And because of her generosity, I was able to experience what she had experienced. And since that Sunday, I've pretty much been to church every single Sunday since, and now I have my own relationship with Jesus, which is so cool. I think in that moment, I loved how my friend wasn't selfish. She had multiple opportunities to say no and to be selfish, but she wanted me to experience Jesus because she had experienced Jesus. She wanted me to experience church. And because of her generosity, what may have seemed like a really small thing to her actually changed my life.
Hey, I'm Jesse. Where would I rate myself in the generosity scale? Well, I feel like generosity is also about humility, It's not just about giving. So therefore, I'd probably give myself a 10 out of 10, honestly. No, I'm kidding. Probably a 7. But other people's generosities probably made me the man I am today. I think back to when I was young in my faith, when I was 14. I'd just become a Christian and I came into school and people didn't really like me because of my faith. People weren't really friends with me because of my faith. And I spent most lunchtimes alone. I kind of needed friendship in my life. And my youth leader, Joel, decided to be my mentor in that time. And he was just so generous to me. He started meeting with me every week, giving me advice, mostly listening to me ranting and complaining about the hardships of being a 15-year-old boy. But he was so consistent and he was so faithful. he chose to be consistent. He chose to constantly sit with me in the sadness and point my attention to Jesus. And honestly, I'm so grateful for his generosity, because I don't think I'd be here if it wasn't for him.
Hi guys, my name is Michelle, and I probably rate my generosity out of 10, maybe around a 7, because I do factor in my generosity in my monthly budgeting, but in terms of sharing my faith, I probably like to do it more, and there's definitely space to grow in it. But I've been a Christian for nearly over 8 years now, and throughout this time I've experienced people's generosity many times, and an example of this would be back in 2023 when I was going through a pivotal stage in my life. I'd found myself out of university and the community that I was in for over a year. Uncertain of where I was meant to be, I was grieving the loss of a community and the countercultural thing of leaving my studies. But my brother and my sister-in-law really showed up for me during this time. It was really difficult, and they actually invited me to stay with them down in Cambridge for a month to heal and to hear from God what he had for me next. And it was a really healing space for me, where I felt really loved and incredibly encouraged, which ultimately helped me find where God wanted me to be in the next season, now here down in London.
What is happening?
With the tea bag. That's so annoying.
There's a little piece on how generosity's impacted our lives, but it wouldn't be a vlog from the way if we didn't go to the streets and hear other people's experiences.
How has generosity changed your life?
Education is one that comes to mind in terms of being offered a good education young. I feel like that's an act of generosity, which opened me up to many different experiences that changed my worldview. So
it's helped me appreciate other people more, receiving generosity, but then also when you receive generosity and you feel the kindness of others, it makes you want to do the same for others as well. So.
Well, I definitely notice when people are overly generous. I mean, I have a couple of friends that I know that they're more generous than my other friends. And I guess it just gives you faith in humanity that people are going to be, not have themselves at their kind of main interest, but see you as their kind of putting you first.
As a Muslim, we're ordered by God to give charity, and I feel like by giving, you get more as well. All my life, I've always given. Like, I've never looked at my account thinking, oh, is it low, or am I going to struggle? The more I give, I feel like the more I get. And I think that's the beauty of giving.
Even if you're not rewarded in this world directly with physical things, you'll be rewarded spiritually, whether that's in the next world or in this world, that's up to God. So I believe that whatever you put out there, you do get back in return. And it's also a beautiful feeling when you help other people. So it's almost the complete package, and that's my answer.
It's very selfless.
Absolutely. And I believe that everyone comes together in that way, then it solves a lot of problems that we have in society. So you want to be treated as others are treated, basically.
With like compliments and stuff, a lot of times I won't say something, but like there've been quite a few times people have like completely random people come up to me and been like, oh, I like your shoes, or I like your jeans, something like that. And you know what I mean? It always makes you feel better. So I feel like in terms of like generosity, I guess doing more of that could be better, yeah.
Any highlights from the streets? Any reflections?
What I found interesting going into it was how I feel like we live in a society that's very like, I've got to handle myself. I need to get things done by myself. Like, I don't need your help. You don't need to give me a handout. It's fine. I'll do it by myself, which means that it can actually be really hard to be generous because people are so like used to doing things as individuals. But even when there was one girl we spoke to and she talks about getting an education and how that was a generous act because somebody was able to pay for her to like further her knowledge. It just makes me think like sometimes we'll do things that makes us sound like we're doing things as individuals, but actually we wouldn't have been able to get to that point if it wasn't for the generosity of somebody else. And so it's really changed my perspective on like you know, how the world teaches us that you're an island, you can do things by yourself, but actually we can't. Like, we actually do need generosity, and it's something that we should continue to normalize and not make it this like weird thing. But we need it, and we need like each other.
So true.
Yeah.
And one of the other girls, I remember I was interviewing, she said how like generosity made her, like somebody being generous to her made her want to be generous to others. And I just love how generosity can be contagious. Like when you experience it from somebody else, it sparks something in you where like, oh no, wait, that was so lovely and kind that someone did that for me. I want to do that for somebody else. And I think that's like an encouragement that even if you might feel like the person's not really acknowledged what you've done in terms of like giving your time, energy, money, whatever, you're actually having a lasting impact on them because you don't know what they're taking home with, like in their hearts. I just think that's awesome.
Zen, do you want to come over here as we do the intro?
As you guys heard over this video, there are so many different ways that we can practically practice generosity. And we just hope that you guys will tune in over the next few weeks and not just watch the content and listen to the conversations, but take part in the challenges as well. So stay tuned, stay with us, and we will see you in the next episode of our generosity series. Bye.